Lyra Moone had always believed in the science of healing. She carried her textbooks like talismans, each page a prayer for the lives she would one day save. In the fluorescent-lit classrooms of her pre-med program, she could quote entire passages about cell structures, cardiac rhythms, or the complex dance of neurotransmitters. Yet nothing in those books could have prepared her for the night her own biology turned against her. It was meant to be a weekend escape, a small camping trip with friends before the semester's storm of exams. The forest stretched wide and green beneath a fat harvest moon, the air thick with pine resin and wood smoke. She had wandered a short way from camp to gather more firewood when the silence shifted. Not the natural quiet of night, but an unnatural stillness, as if the whole forest held its breath. The growl came first, low, vibrating through the ground. She turned slowly, a piece of kindling in her hand, and saw eyes, luminous gold, unblinking, hovering in the shadows. The shape emerged with impossible speed, fur bristling, teeth bared. She barely had time to gasp before it struck. Pain tore through her shoulder, fire spreading through her veins as teeth pierced flesh. She screamed, but it was swallowed by the sound of her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. The beast was gone in an instant, vanishing into the dark as quickly as it had appeared. Her vision tunneled, and the world went black. She awoke in a hospital bed, the memory so vivid she could still smell the creature's musk, feel the burn of its bite. The doctor spoke of a wild animal attack, but Lyra knew. She had seen enough horror films, read enough folklore, to know what the golden-eyed thing had been. The first transformation came with the next full moon. She thought it was fever at first, heat blooming in her bones, skin prickling. But then the pain became something monstrous, twisting her joints, snapping bones into new shapes. Her scream broke into a guttural snarl. She fell to the floor, fingers clawing at the carpet as her body convulsed. When it was over, she was on all fours, every sense lit like a wildfire. The scent of the neighbor's cat 3 floors down was as clear as perfume. She could hear the slow ticking of the clock in the kitchen. Her heart raced, not in fear, but in hunger. The loss of control was worse than the pain. Her instincts surged like a tidal wave, drowning her human reason. She lashed out at the shadows, at her own reflection in the window. Somewhere deep inside, the real Lyra screamed to stop. But the wolf did not listen. When morning came, she found her apartment in ruins. Furniture overturned, curtains shredded, claw marks etched into the walls. Her hands shook as she noticed the faint scent of her neighbor's cologne on her torn sweatshirt. She had been close. Too close. The guilt settled in her like a sickness. She withdrew from friends, from her studies, hiding the truth behind locked doors and heavy curtains. How could she ever be a doctor now? How could she heal anyone when she was a danger to them? Yet the scientist in her refused to surrender. If her body had changed, then it could be understood, studied. She began recording her symptoms, charting the phases of the moon, testing her own senses. And what she found astonished her. She could smell the faint, metallic tang of an infection in her own healing wound. She could hear the uneven rhythm in her neighbor's heartbeat through the wall. At first it was a curiosity, but in the clinic where she volunteered, it became something else entirely. She could tell which child had strep throat before they opened their mouth. She could hear the tiny click of a faulty heart valve in a man who had no idea he was sick. Patients looked at her in wonder when she suggested they see a specialist, only to have the diagnosis confirmed days later. Still, it came at a cost. Every illness, every pain she sensed tugged at something inside her, as though her own body mirrored their suffering. The migraines grew worse. Her nights were restless, full of dreams of running under moonlight, chased by the ache of 1,000 wounds that weren't hers. Then came the night she found him. The moon was thin, a silver sickle above the city, when the scent hit her, sharp, wild, familiar. She followed it through alleys and across a weedy lot until she found a man slumped against a crumbling wall. His hair was matted silver, his face gaunt, but his eyes, those golden eyes, were the same she had seen in the forest. "You," she breathed, rage rising in her chest. He looked up at her with something between sorrow and relief. "I had to find you," he rasped. "You attacked me," she said, voice trembling. "I chose you," he corrected. "Not out of cruelty, out of need." She wanted to turn and walk away, Instead, she found herself crouching beside him, drawn by the raw suffering in his scent. Was the spirit healer of my pack, he said. A gift and a curse. I can take the pain of others into myself, ease their suffering, but it drains me, and I am dying. I needed someone with a heart strong enough to bear it, someone who would not turn away from pain. You were the only one I found. Lyra's breath caught. You mean all this? The exhaustion, the empathy? Is the gift, he said, and the burden. You can reject it, let it fade, and you will live, but not as you are now. Or you can embrace it, and heal the world in a way no human or wolf ever could. She thought of the clinic, the little boy with the cough she'd caught before it became pneumonia, the old woman whose chest pain she had smelled hours before it might have killed her. She thought of her own dream, to heal, to help. The choice was no choice at all. I'll take it, she said. His eyes softened. Then listen carefully. He taught her how to channel the pain she took in, not to drown in it, how to let it flow through her like water through stone, leaving her changed but unbroken. He spoke of balance, between wolf and human, instinct and intellect. By the time the moon had set, his voice was a whisper, and by dawn, he was gone. From then on, Lyra's path was clear. She stayed in school, balancing her studies with her new calling. She learned meditation techniques to quiet the wolf's hunger, breathing exercises to release the pain she absorbed. She kept journals not just of medical notes, but of the faces and stories of those she helped, human and werewolf alike. There were setbacks. Nights when the wolf nearly broke free. Days when the weight of others' pain crushed her to the edge of collapse. But each time, she found her center again, and with each patient she helped, her resolve deepened. Years later, she crossed the stage at her medical school graduation, the applause washing over her like sunlight. She had done it, not in spite of the wolf, but because of it. Her heightened senses made her a diagnostic marvel. Her spirit healer gift made her a legend in the making. In the Howl verse, her name became known in whispers and reverence. To humans, she was Dr. Lyra Moone, a physician with impossible instincts. To werewolves, she was the spirit healer, the one who could draw the pain from a shattered limb or a wounded soul and leave only peace behind. And to herself, she was simply Lyra, the girl who had once feared she could never heal again, and instead had found a way to heal the world. She had turned her curse into a gift, her pain into purpose. And under each full moon, when the transformation came, she no longer fought it. She welcomed it, knowing that somewhere in the night, someone was crying out in pain, and she was running to find them.